Joining us next is the famed entertainer, John McEuen. Welcome to the show, John.
Well, thank you.
How
Nice
are
to be
you?
welcome somewhere.
Oh my
I'm doing
goodness.
pretty good.
Well, I was
What's
excited
that?
to I was excited to speak with you, John, today because one of the things that I've always loved and enjoyed is the sound of a banjo because my grandpa Fields, his name was George, he would always play the harmonica for me and the banjo every weekend when I went to his house. Yes. It's it's the banjo has this sound of like laughter almost to it. At least it does to me.
It's it's very strange. Just doing that makes me feel good. If I'm sometimes I won't play for a day or two, and I'll just see my banjo and I'll go, "Oh yeah, that's really cool." And
I think
you say it's always happy, but it can be sad if you've tuned it.
true.
Like that.
It has a soul. I mean, it really does. I love all the instruments, but for me, like I think it just goes back to those early times for me, and it just
Hmm.
connects me to my grandfather. And it was always so exciting. Like he would open up his dresser drawer and he would take out his harmonica and he would just play, and then his banjo, and it was just delightful. So I was so elated to find out that you have yet another. You've accomplished a lot, John. I mean, so many beautiful, wonderful things and years of music and accolades to
Thank you.
you. Just incredible journey so far. And yet, now you're giving your fans even something again, something new, something fresh that you're generating. And that is your spoken word. I would love to find out about this project, and then we'll go backwards and talk about some of the other things you've already accomplished.
Well, after 50 years with a nitty gritty dirt band, I figured it was time to do something different. And I'd been collecting stories for the last 10, and I just recorded them and put them on my hard drive. And finally, when I saw Tom Hanks' movie, The News of the World, that went bing. I better get this album done and finished and put it out. And so there we go. That's kind of how The Newsman came about.
I love that about you. It's like, I also love the story about how you started playing the banjo and how at the beginning you weren't really that great. It's not like you picked it up early on, you had other things. It took you a lot of
I
work to
didn't
try to, yeah.
I didn't start till I was 17 and a half. And that's pretty late in the world of banjo player. Yeah, I started when I was 6 years old. No, not me. I was a math major in high school and college, and I didn't play any music.
And then you started playing, and then you were like one of the founding members of that great band, and you did play with them for a really long time. But you've done some other really important things. You've scored movies. You've worked on projects like with your good friend Steve Martin. So kudos to you on that. Who also, people don't realize that he's also an accomplished banjo player. They only think of him as an
Well,
actor or a comedian, but
Steve has used the banjo. We both started playing at the same time, and he's nice enough to say that I taught him how to play, but I didn't teach him how to play his music. And he was writing a lot of great music, and I said, "You ought to let me produce an album on you." And I've known him since we were 16, and my brother managed him and produced his movies and four of his albums. And this was now years later. And I said, I'm the guy to produce your album because I know what you are based on. You like Music Man, you like Aaron Copland, his Appalachian Spring album, and you like Flatt and Scruggs, and you like comedy. I can put those together. We both worked in Disneyland. I know about that background, and
yeah. I know. I think
and
that's
I
funny
did.
that you. Yeah, I think that's so funny that you worked in Disneyland. What? What were they? Did they make you wear like the costumes because every of the cast members always had to dress in like an interesting way?
I was a chipmunk. No, I wasn't. I wasn't. No, we didn't have to wear costumes other than in Fantasyland you wore a pixie shirt, and on Main Street you just wore you know, a white shirt and black pants and a tie, a little bow tie. And we didn't work for the Disney Corporation. It was a leased store, a leasee, and it was really fun. 3 years of doing that gave us some background. Gave Steve half of his stage act for the first few years too.
Little sleight of hand, a little magic, you know. So you've done. John, would you show me your hands for a second? Because yeah, it's just amazing to think that what you're able to create with your brain and your heart and your hands. Such a beautiful gift that year after year, time after time, you present to us, like your fans and the people that you love and the people that are around you. You know, sometimes people could just have their talent and not share it, you know? But you've been so generous with so many people. So I was excited to have you on the show. This new project, how will people be able to engage with it? What are you hoping that they can glean from it?
I'm hoping they find parts of it that they don't want to live without, that they will
Wow.
play every week or every couple of weeks. I'm gonna go. Hey, I want to find that cremation of Sam McGee and play it again, or I want to play Old Rivers. It's one of the cuts on there about an old guy. Cremation of Sam McGee was first written in 1906, and here I am doing it 110 years later, and it really holds up. It's so I listen to that thing. I've been listening to it twice a day for the last week, and it's just. I hope I'm not crazy, you know, but it's not me I'm listening to. It's the recording. It's like because I use a lot of sound effects and music and special effects and stuff, and it's really it's not just talking. Have you heard it?
Okay. I
Have you
have
heard it?
not. No, they have it like under secret wraps right now. It's still under like this
You
like
haven't heard
secret,
it?
little bit, little bit. You know, it's mostly under
Oh,
secret. Yeah, under
well,
secretness.
I'm hoping that the tradition of talking music and or talking with music under it. Some people call it rap, but this is more pleasant than a lot of rap you'll find. But you know, Hank Williams Jr. I mean, excuse me, Hank Williams Sr. did
Yes.
talking blues songs as Luke the Drifter back in the late 1940s. You know, things like "We're still a living, so everything's okay." You know, and things like "Fly Trouble," which I do on this album. That was one of his 1948 songs, and that was really cool. And things like "The Devil Went Down to Georgia." Um, that was basically a talking song. Bobby
Yeah.
Bear did a lot of talking songs. Jerry Reed, you know, uh, swamp talking songs, and so I feel like there hasn't been one for a while, and
And
I think
and we're due.
I think it's something. Pardon?
Yeah, and I said, and we're due. You know, it hasn't been one for a while, so you're delivering it.
Yeah, and it's really fun. It's the first thing on the album is called "The Newsman," and that's a story I wrote about a guy that delivered the news, and he was incredible. He influenced my life, and you haven't heard that, have you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I
I'm,
hope you
I'm
get a
like,
chance to hear it from.
okay. Well, you
I'll
know,
email it to you.
would you? I
Oh,
would
there I
love
am on
that.
the big phone.
Yeah, you know what? My daughter Elise, John, lives in Nashville, and she made this gigantic prop for me. So when somebody calls in, it looks like they're on my gigantic cell phone.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Isn't that the coolest? Yeah,
I think I'll
she's
reach
a,
down here and push one of the buttons. Let's see.
hello, honey, I'm home. Well, you had mentioned the devil went down to Georgia, and I had
Yeah,
the good
that was
fortune.
basically that was.
Yeah,
Yes, go.
I had
Sorry.
the good fortune to interview Mr. Daniels, and
Oh,
and that was lovely. When I got a chance to meet him, I asked him if he had named his fiddles, And he said, "Oh, yes, I have. Fiddle one, fiddle two, and fiddle three." I mean, he was just a delightful person, you know? And so, same thing with your banjos. You said you have this banjo, but you have another banjo. How many banjos do you have?
I don't know, 5 or 6 or
There you go.
maybe
Is
7.
maybe seven.
I loan them out sometimes, and one of them just came back actually. And yeah, 5 or 6.
When
But
when you when you were working, with the band and everything, and you were the first band actually to play in foreign soil that
to do what?
hadn't.
I'm sorry.
I said you were the first band to play on foreign soil.
Oh,
That was a
well,
really. Can we talk
first
about
band to
that?
play in Russia, first
Yeah,
American group to play in Russia, and that
John.
was really incredible.
Whew. I mean,
We did
tell.
28. We did
Yeah.
we did 28 shows in places that seated anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 seats. It was really crazy. That was a lot of fun, and uh, it was like a whole other country over there. Hmm.
Yeah, and were you intimidated by that at all? Were you aware of how profound that was going to be?
Yes, it was wonderful. We had to represent. We wanted to represent American music, and we did a Chuck Berry song. We did what's his name? Piano player, Little Richard song. We did a Beach Boys song. We did our music, but we did this other stuff too.
Yeah.
And took a female singer with us. She sang great, and a friend from Aspen, Jan Garrett, and she makes records still now today. Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin, they do wonderful, and it was really like a wonderful trip. Every day something new. I couldn't I couldn't go spend time in my room. I had to go do some things on the day off, or even I did five different music lectures in
Wow.
music schools that the interpreters set up for me in just different places, and that was really fun. Talking about American music to a couple hundred Russians, and then that night going to play for 4,000 of them, and it was really in Leningrad. Arena, the blonde uh, party member. Our main tour manager was not a party member. Marina was sweet, and Arena was very. Oh, in Leningrad, you will get respectful response, but and possibly an encore, but it won't be crazy like they hear in Latvia or down in Georgia. Uh huh. Yeah, Lorena. Let's see what happens. I'll never forget after the first show, we were walking off stage after the third encore because people were going nuts. They were standing up, which was illegal in Russia to stand up at a public event like that.
Wow.
Somebody would stand up and everybody turn their head and look at them. Then somebody make them sit down. Somebody else would stand up, turn it. Finally, 3 or 4 people would sit, and then 10 people, and then 30. And anyway, by the end of the
Wow.
third encore, there was a couple hundred people up at the front edge of the stage. A guy had run up and was playing air guitar with one of the guys. A girl had run up and kissed the bass player, and on the stage, and I never forget walking off knowing we're going to do a fourth encore. Arena in the wings, she's going, I never thought in Leningrad, I never thought this would happen. And I said, well, Arena, it's called American music. Get used to it. Anyway, it was really an event.
That's very cool. One of
And
the
every show was crazy people. I mean, wonderful an audience. Not,
so exciting. One of the things too that I love about you, John, is that you are a learner, an astute person that researches the beginnings, the early beginnings of the players, and giving credit where credit's due. And I
You
like
talking
that
about
about you.
me?
I'm talking about you. Yes. Were you looking over your shoulder? Who's here?
Yeah,
Wait.
I was like,
Yeah.
who's she talking about?
So, no, what I watched a lot of the interviews that you've done on other shows as part of my research to get to know you a little bit
Oh,
better
wow.
before you came here. And, one of the things that I liked about you too, John, is that you spend time wanting to give credit where credit's due. And there have been musicians early on in American music that maybe didn't get the mention or the notoriety that you were able to enjoy so far. And I like that about you. I like that you pay tribute to the people that came before you. Does that make sense to you? You know where I'm going with that?
Yeah,
And
we
and that
wouldn't.
Matt, yeah.
I wouldn't be holding this banjo if it wasn't for people that came before me. uh, Pete Seeger. Pete Seeger became a friend. Earl Scruggs, Doug Dillard. Uh, but yeah, you really should pay attention to people that have done what influences you. And I've tried to do that.
And this volume, how many like pieces on this new project are we going to be enjoying? Tell us about the format of it.
One reason it took so long is I didn't want to have an album that had one good cut and nine boring ones.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That I'm pretty critical. But and I also wanted to have a record that would have chance to get on the air in different places. Like I
Hmm.
think Old Rivers is good for country and Fly Trouble. I think Cremation of Sam McGee is good for an FM station late at night. It's good for Halloween. It's good for that's good. The Killed at the Ford, that's good for historical poetry. There's 300 poetry podcasts out there, and I'm hoping they're going to like this because it's all spoken word. There's some singing in it, some background, some stuff, but it's mainly the spoken word. And I'll be glad when they run out of gas. Friends, I got a problem. It's with my automobile. It smokes like a chimney, and the brake linings always squeal. Well, I can never go very fast, but I tell you, I'm going to be glad when they run out of gas. And it's like a country bumpkin, uh, silly guy bragging about how dumb he is.
Well, I did like those old shows. I loved Hee Haw. I liked Gomer Pyle. I like that kind of silly humor. That fun,
Yeah,
silly
it's a
humor.
it's a Roy Clark kind of thing,
I'm
and
excited.
I'm hoping I'm hoping it reaches some country stations. And Killed at the Ford, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, a poem written right at the end of the Civil War, and I found a piece of music called Vacant Chair that really fit it. Now this was a 2 year process. What what can I play behind Killed at the Ford? What can I play? The book is sitting there and I forget about it, and I come back to it a few months later. I could take Vacant Chair and cut it up and move it up. In editing and Pro Tools, you can cut things and move them just like cut and paste a Word project. And anyway, that works out good. It's about a guy that is going down to check the picket guard at the ford, and a whistling ball comes out of the woods, and he falls. And it's like it talks about the results and what happened at the end. I don't want to give it away.
You don't have to. You gave us just enough little love and a little bit of juice, John, that you whet our appetites. And the one thing that I just wanted to tell you is just sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the music and for the laughter and for the quality of time that you just spent with me because we
Well,
can
thank you.
always, and in life, we can always make more money, John, but we can never make more time. And I am so grateful for
Oh
this
boy.
moment that we spent. It meant, sincerely for me, it meant so much for me. And I just
Well,
wanted to
thank
tell you
you.
thank you.
I just want to get the word of this unusual record that people I hope will find a good part of their library. However, they download the music or buy a CD. Yeah. When's the last time you bought a CD?
Oh, I do. I still support people. So, I'm
Well,
old
that's
school
good.
like that. But, I thank you. And before we wrap up, I want to tell you a funny thing. One of my early jobs at Technosonic Studios was I was the music librarian. And when you're talking about sound effects, I had the Hanna-Barbera album, needle drop music that I used to do, but sometimes it was fun just to make, like scratches and different sounds and try to come up with things that were the theater of the mind. And I'm sure that
Oh yeah.
we're going to have a really good time with your work.
Well, good. I hope you do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Happy journeys to you, John. Thank you for coming on my show.
Well, thank you. I'll just I'll, I'll just play you out.
Thank you so much. John McEuen, the best of the best.